Today's episode of the BS Podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. That's been our presenting sponsor since 1963. We have college basketball conference tournaments and March Madness coming up. Oh, yeah. I can't think of a smarter, easier way to get tickets to these games than SeatGeek. I went on there last week, and then I went on there this week. Tons of good seats available for the ACC tournament in Brooklyn, among other things. It's by far the easiest way I have found to buy the best tickets, thanks to their revolutionary grading system. Buy and sell tickets in just 2 taps on your phone on SeatGeek. Everything fully guaranteed. Try it out. Download the free SeatGeek app today or go right to SeatGeek.com. We're also brought to you by our old friend Stamps.com. Buy and print official U.S. postage for any letter or package using your own computer or printer. All you have to do is sign up for Stamps.com right now. Use the promo code BS. You get a 4-week trial plus a $110 bonus offer that includes postage and a digital scale. Why would you go to the post office? It's terrible there. Who has fun at the post office? Go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in BS. That's Stamps.com. Enter BS. And finally, we are brought to you by the Ringer Podcast Network, which just added a new show. It's called The Masked Man Show. It used to be on Channel 33, and now it has its own podcast feed. If you love wrestling, I would highly recommend subscribing to The Masked Man Show on wherever you get your podcasts. And if you haven't heard my last couple, we had Jimmy Kimmel went to his office on Wednesday night, and we did a rehash of his crazy Oscars experience, which you probably heard of since everyone in America heard of it. And he has some great stories about that. Check that out. That's the podcast before this one. Luke Walton coming up right now. All right, here in El Segundo, the Lakers practice complex, Coach Luke Walton. I can't get over the fact that you're a coach. I'm sure you get that. How old are you now?
I'm 36.
So my dad had season tickets for the Celtic games.
Yes.
In the 80s.
Yes.
The 70s and 80s, but in the 80s we used to sit in the tunnel.
Yes.
So we were on the left side. And when your dad joined the team, which was the greatest basketball season of my life, all of a sudden your mom was like literally directly across from us on the other part of the tunnel, 5 feet away. And she would bring the Walton boys in, and you guys were terrorists. Yeah. You guys were just jumping up. You're doing like,
yeah.
You were all crammed on like 2 seats or 3 seats. And I don't know how, so you would have been.
I was 6.
You were 6.
So
you had a couple older brothers.
2 years apart. So there was 4, 6, 8, and 10.
Right.
Were the ages of the 4 boys.
Right. And she spent most of the time trying to corral you in the seats.
Bless her heart.
And meanwhile, basketball history is happening right in front of you. But you say, I read that article in the Globe. You said there was some osmosis from that season for you with the passing.
I said I think there had to be. Because it's like it's what I love most about the game of basketball. I love watching the ball move. Yeah. Somebody beating the defense with a backdoor pass, right. Or if a defense isn't looking, just throwing it over the top. That type of nonstop ball movement and that skill is my favorite part of the game. So, it had to start from somewhere, and I'm assuming that's where it was, watching tapes and, Larry Bird legend movies as a kid and just seeing it nonstop. I think is a big part of, the way I see and try to coach the game now.
You think there's any DNA from that? Like your dad had the passing gene, so it had to be in your chromosomes a little bit?
I mean, I don't think so, but I guess there's a possibility.
Has to be a little bit,
My
right?
younger brother was a complete gunner, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he played at San Diego State, and he just wanted to hoist up shots.
He was rebelling against the passing gene.
He might have been. Because me and my older brother loved passing. He got out there in his mind that every time he touches the ball, he should shoot it. So. Well,
I remember that season. I'm barely old enough to remember watching your dad in Portland when he was like the best center in the league, and they came in one time. And they just killed the Celtics. It was like 150 to 110 or something. And the ball was I just never seen anything like it. And it was like this indelible imprint on me. And he gets hurt. You read the story, broken foot. He's never going to come back. He's in the Clippers. And then when he arrived with the Celtics, it was like he'd found his soulmate, Larry Bird. And they would just experiment that whole year with those little back doors, little cuts off the screens and all that stuff. It was magnificent.
Yeah. So he said, and again, it's my dad, so who knows what part of the stories are true or not. But the story we heard, he was going to law school up at Stanford.
Yeah.
And he didn't think he could ever play again because of his feet. And he started playing intramural basketball with some friends he was in school with, and his foot felt great.
Yeah.
He was able to score, 100 points in intramural games against poor law students at Stanford University. And he said his foot felt so good that he wanted to come back and play. And
it was like a miracle. He stayed healthy the whole year, and then that was it.
Yeah, it was.
But I think he played like 100 games.
One last gift from the basketball gods, because boy, did he love the game of basketball.
I know.
And did he love Larry Bird? So he was like, for him, I think, I think for a lot of athletes, retiring and especially when it happens early and with injuries is really depressing.
Yeah.
And he had his struggles with that himself. But what a last gift to be for someone that plays the game like he played and the way he appreciates the game, to be able to spend his last year playing alongside that 86 Celtic team, winning a championship, 6th man of the year, all that stuff, was pretty incredible.
I went to see him because I wrote a basketball book like 7-8 years ago, and he was basically the last chapter of the book because he was, out of all the best guys ever, he was the one guy who his body just betrayed him, and he never got to really use the gift to the level that he could have. And I remember I drove to San Diego. It was like summer 2009. This is before he had the back surgery, and he kind of, basically saved his life. I mean, he's talked about it, but I remember he was sitting on a couch, and his feet were up, and you see his feet, and you're like, oh man, how did those things go through any NBA season? Like, they're just these long, he had no arches, and he's got all these cuts and scars and all this stuff on him. And it's like, man,
his knees are like 3 times the size of what knees should look like. He's been through the ringer.
Well, now he's reinvented himself. I mean, I'm sure you're aware of his Pac-12 announcing and all the ESPN stuff. He's been hilarious.
He's
taking it to another level.
Yes, he really has. I saw a Texas game the other day where someone threw him a tie-dye Texas shirt, and he literally changed in the middle of the arena, just shirt off. But he loves it. He really does, and he's always been a hard worker. He's not just he studies his game notes and he's ready to go. Now half the time he's talking about crazy Grateful Dead flashbacks, but I love listening to him do games. It really does entertain me because I've heard those stories and that type of storytelling since I was a kid, and we were sitting around the dinner table, and to see how much fun he's having doing all that's pretty awesome. Because like you said, he found his life again. He was out. He was done. He had given up pretty much, and to see the joy that he has again in life and in being able to work and travel and do all that stuff from a son standpoint is obviously like way cooler than just listening to what he's talking about.
I could sense that a little bit when we talked. I sense that he was in not a great place physically, and that it would definitely affected him. I mean, I didn't know like how badly it was affecting him, but I could definitely tell he was a guy who was outdoors riding his bike to practices and games when he was in Portland, and you could see that, he just missed being able to move around.
Oh, it was killing him.
Yeah.
And, he was, he wasn't one to really talk about all that type of stuff a lot. So for us as kids, it was like we saw it, but we were also all doing our own thing, and, kind of around that age that, we weren't seeing him as much as we usually are used to. So then when the word came out how bad it really was, like it blew us away.
Yeah.
Like we don't sit down and have those type of talks. And I think he likes to handle things on his own, especially things like that, his health and stuff like that. He wants to, do it all himself. So it was, reading some of that stuff was really, was tough.
Yeah, I ran into him a couple of times after I wrote the book, and he would always, and I remember he emailed me a couple of times too, he'd been on my podcast, but he would always say he would get great feedback for this chapter I wrote. And I was like, did you read it yet? And he's like, I can't. Just couldn't read it. Like, I think it's still painful for him to read about his career, because I think he must feel like there's he missed out. Like, think about LeBron's played 15 straight seasons. He's just been healthy.
I know.
And Bill Walton plays like maybe 1/5 of that or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the thing that's coming out now on the TV is he's got to be in like the top 5 or 6 people who love basketball the most. I did a year with Doug Collins, so I don't know if you know.
Oh yeah.
But Doug Collins just like, he just loves basketball.
I love Doug. Doug's awesome.
We'd be in a room with 8 TVs and he's fidgeting his thing like, look at that. Why don't you do it? And he's just, that's what he's like. That's his favorite thing. Mm-hmm. And I think your dad's like that too. What did he say when you were talking about maybe going to the Lakers?
When I was going to take
when you were talking about the coaching job, yeah.
He thought that I should stay in Golden State.
Really?
But I think where he's at in his life, he looks back and looks at that Portland team and looks at the '86 Celtic team and like
two of the icons.
Nothing else. Like those are the memories that I think stick with him the most. Being part of those championship teams and how great that was to be a part of it. So I think his advice to me was more about, quality of life and being happy. Because let me tell you, living in Oakland and coaching that team, working with Steve, working with the staff up there, and Bob Myers and them was like every day was pretty much a good day because we won. We had fun at practice. So I get where he was coming from, but where I'm at in my life and being young, like the challenge and the idea of having the opportunity to help get the LA Lakers back to where they belong, was, the excitement that where you can't sleep at night. Like the fact that you get to be a part of that and trying to make that happen. Yeah, it's going to be hard as hell, but like that's the team that drafted me. That's the team I played with. And on top of that, they're one of the greatest sports franchises of all time.
It's the second greatest NBA franchise ever.
Yeah, we don't need to get into that debate. If you had me on when I was 6, I would have agreed with you.
You would have been high-fiving.
It was probably all the way up until I was 22 when I got drafted. Because as soon as I heard the LA Lakers and Luke Walton coming out, like it changed right there. So up until I was 22, I probably would have agreed with you.
Well, you've had some crazy different types of basketball situations. Like you're the interim coach on this team that comes together in a way that we've never seen in our lives last year in the Warriors when first 25. But then your rookie season, you go in and that's like a really, really bonkers Lakers season. That was they bring in Karl Malone and Gary Payton. It's really the first super team. Everyone thinks like LeBron and Wade and Bosh formed it, but like that year, everybody was like, oh, the Lakers are going to win. This is going to be so boring. Who else is going to win? And then, I think if Karl Malone doesn't get hurt, I know the Pistons were good, but I still think you probably
The Pistons were really good.
Yeah, they were really good.
They were a really good team as far as the way they played. They had their roles, and they played those roles to a T. But yeah, the injury to Karl Malone killed us. He was kind of that guy that kept everything smooth on a team full of Hall of Famers, and
you weren't that deep either. You couldn't lose a guy who played 35 minutes a game on that team.
Yeah, we were. Phil just didn't trust me. That was my.
You were playing though, right? Who was it? It was like Slava.
It was me and Slava begging to get thrown in the game. We weren't as deep. We had our guys that had a lot of success. Rick Fox was hurt all year. Right. Horace Grant came and helped, but he got hurt before the playoffs. GP wasn't happy.
He's standing on the side.
So it wasn't, it wasn't as deep as, that is normally nice to make a playoff run. And then when Karl got hurt, it just it crushed the kind of the spirit of what we had going.
You got by the Spurs, and that was a pretty. They're a defending champs, but then that Pistons team just, I could see it after like the second game.
Yeah.
I can't remember which game Kobe hit the crazy game winner, but
game 2.
Yeah, it just felt like.
That was, and that was to go into overtime. Like they had already won game 1 on our court.
Convincingly.
We had to fight to scrap to get back in to have a chance to win game 2. And then it was over when we got to Detroit.
What did rookie Luke Walton think of all the Shaq Kobe stuff that year? You just thrown into this.
Yeah, I didn't really know what to think. I coming from college, everything is such a tight group.
Right.
And it's like you're really with the same kids for the most part your whole time.
And you guys were tight
there.
too, that Arizona team.
Oh yeah. Everyone on that team I'm still, good friends with. And like that was how we did things coming out of college. So a lot of what happened that rookie year, I just was sitting back and observing, trying to take it all in, which is, crazy. A lot of people assume growing up as Bill's son, like I would have already known how to handle the NBA. I had no clue. I remember my first road trip, you get off the bus and they tell you, all right, we'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. And I'm thinking to myself, well, when's the team film session tonight? When's the team dinner? Is it in the lobby? Like all this stuff. And, It's come to find out, like, no, you're a grown up now. Like, we got to this city, do whatever the hell you want all night long, and we got 10 a.m. the next day. So a lot of that rookie year was just kind of sitting back and observing and trying to figure out, how this league works. And the Kobe Shaq thing was crazy because I got, it felt like there was a team Kobe a little bit, and then some guys that were team Shaq. And I got along great with both of them.
Right.
So I was
you passed, so they liked you.
I was neutral and I passed to, I love passing anyways, but when Shaq used to tell me if I don't throw him the ball, because in triangle you can, wherever the next pass leads to the motion. So anytime I didn't throw it to him, he would tell me he was going to punch me in the face next time that happened. I started making my 2-pass into the post pretty much every time. But it was definitely an interesting experience.
And then the opposite last year. That team had unbelievable chemistry.
Yeah. The best
I've never seen a team enjoy themselves.
It was the best chemistry of any team I've been a part of, including our championship teams here that I was playing with. They have so much fun the way that they played and shared the ball and didn't care which player was getting the shots. And embracing their roles and sacrificing for
you must have loved it.
It was awesome. It really was. Andre coming off the bench for the first time in his career. David Lee, same thing. The first year we were there, bringing over Sean Livingston and, who I played with in Cleveland my last year, and seeing like his career that was almost over, and such a good guy and hard worker, to start to be able to have that type of success with the team that's winning.
It's a little like your dad, like it was over and then he rallied back.
Yeah.
On that 86
Absolutely. And a huge role. The year we won the championship, he had some huge minutes in the finals for us. So it was the chemistry of that team, and the Warriors did a great job with, the way that they set things up for the players. Any time we had nights off on the road, there was team dinner, like at whatever restaurant set up for just to constantly reinforce the idea of like, look, we're all in this together. It wasn't mandatory, but most nights guys enjoyed each other. They'd come to dinner and they'd have, whatever, a couple drinks and order a nice meal, and it was people laughing and having fun, and it was just a really cool experience for those 2 years up there. You were just the assistant coach. All of a sudden you're the head coach. Were you just like in shock? What's your mindset with that? You must have thought you were like 5 years away. Yeah, I was in shock for sure. But I told myself, like, I had to make the decision that I can't afford to be in shock. At least let it be known that I'm kind of petrified about what's about to happen, because that was my job. Like, I had to be there as the head coach, and so you have to show confidence. And I thought
that's one thing you did really well. You always looked like you were in charge. I think that's the one part that can go badly if somebody's thrust into that spot. Yeah, you looked like you'd been there a while, and I don't know. Did you practice? Were you in front of a full-length mirror practicing?
No,
look calm and comfortable.
I definitely did not practice, but I think a huge part of it, Bob Myers and Steve were so incredible. Bob had convinced me pretty much, even if we started the season 3-5, because we had a really hard stretch to open that season up. He's like, that's fine. Like, we got 82 games. You know how good our team is. Like, eventually, with whatever happens, like, we're going to figure it out. So don't even so Bob was great. Steve, obviously, talking to him every day on the phone was great. And then a big part of it was the players. I mean, the fact that I had such good relationships with them. I played with Andre in college, played with Sean, played with Mo Spates, created a phenomenal relationship with Draymond Green. Obviously Steph, I had these relationships, and I think one, because that group of players are winners, they're going to do what it takes to win. Yeah. And two, because I think they wanted they wanted to help me, succeed at this and make sure that there wasn't, any craziness going to happen. Like, a lot of them really stepped up and they helped, they helped at least carry it along as we got me and the rest of the coaching staff. 'Cause it wasn't just me that was a new coach up there. We had,
because you lost Alvin too. Yeah.
Alvin left. So we had Jaron Collins, who got into it, the year before, like I did. Bruce Frazier, Chris DeMarco. We had a really young coaching staff besides Ron Adams. Yeah. And, that's its own story, but.
Could you feel the team getting more famous as the season went along?
It was
because Steph went to a whole other. I know he won the MVP, but he went to another level.
It was a circus everywhere we went. There was hundreds of people outside the hotel all day waiting for the bus to come, the bus to go, pregame, postgame, everywhere. Hundreds of people.
And then also, like, the off-court opportunities. The people showing up for the games 2.5 hours whenever they could get in to watch warm-ups.
The doors opened an hour and a half before, and I remember when I was the interim head coach, Bob Myers came to me and said, "Hey, we haven't there's a petition going on from the fans, and there's enough signatures now that I figured I would at least bring it to you. Yeah, and they want to get in earlier. So the doors, if the game starts at 7:30, the doors normally open at 6, and this many people want to come in 2 hours before the game so they can watch you guys warm up." And I said, well, I don't think that should be up to me. Obviously Steph's the guy they want to see. Let's go ask Steph. And, Steph's like, well, it's already kind of crazy out there, so let's just kind of keep it where it is. Easy enough decision. Nope. Right. Steph wants to keep the doors shut till 6. We keep them shut till 6. So, fans were literally petitioning to come in the arena 2 hours before the game even started to watch our players warming up. And
it is transfixing to watch him warm up. I got to say, I got to see it at one of the arenas. I can't remember which one, but then I went to a shoot around because we did a pod with Steve Kerr a few weeks ago, and just watching his routine after the practice. He's playing like this kickball game and doing all these little goofy drills, and he's probably the greatest shooter of all time. It's hard not to be mesmerized by it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I heard that podcast with Steve. I thought it was really, really good.
Thank you.
Even though your dad said me and my brothers were all going to end up in prison.
He did. He did. He can't believe that. He can't believe that you all became successes.
Yeah, I know.
He was by those Walton boys.
I know. I was actually listening to it. It was over All-Star break, and me and my mom were driving somewhere, so I had it on. So she had a huge laugh out of it. It was good though.
You don't remember Robert Parrish's wife, do you?
No.
Because that was the other star of that section. She tried to vault out of the thing to jump at a referee once and had to be held back, which I've never seen before. She took the calls very personally. In retrospect, if you guys don't go for 73 and you pace it a little better, does that team win the title, or was it just destined not to be? By the way, as I said to Steve, I thought you did the right thing. Yeah. You always go for the history.
Yeah, and we kind of, the message going as we got closer and closer was like, look, all right, we'll keep playing. We won't sit guys, but we're not going to go for it at the cost of, if Steph has a sprained ankle, we're not going to play him through that to try to get to 73. So we're going to be reasonable about the way we go after it. Yeah. But, we had our chances to win, right? And there's always something that has. Steph got hurt. I think we were a little worn down. And then you just give the credit to Cleveland. They could have quit. And LeBron and Kyrie, they didn't really seem like they were going to be able to take it. But that game 5, when they both went for 40 apiece, that was like when we got back to the locker room, knowing we're going back to Cleveland. I still obviously thought we would win the series, but I think we knew then we had our hands full, and obviously no Bogut in there hurt, but they got momentum, and when superstars get momentum and confidence, it's tough to shut down, and they did a hell of a job.
They did a nice job changing what the series was and just making it kind of not what basketball is being played right now.
Yeah.
It was the final score of Game 7 was, what was it, like 93-89, something like that. It was just so slow and deliberate.
Yeah, and we had our chance. I mean,
that was the thing. You missed how many shots in the last 6 minutes?
And the shots that made the Warriors who the Warriors are, like the 5-pass, kick out, extra pass to a wide open shooter type of shots. The ones that, got us to that point and won us the championship. So, the chances were there.
Were you surprised? Were you surprised they messed with, I know that Durant's one of the best 5 players in the world, but was a part of you surprised they messed with the chemistry?
That wasn't.
Messed is the wrong word. I guess. I think potentially. I think
if we would have won, then it would have been really interesting to see how they do it. Because then I would have been shocked. You don't win back-to-back titles and then trade or let 2 of the biggest pieces go from that. But coming off a loss, you get a chance to add, Kevin Durant, and I know that Steve and them they did not want to, but they were a little hesitant because they love the team up there.
Yeah.
But it comes down to, like, in my opinion, if you can get Kevin Durant, it's like you hear all the time these people talk about players are untouchable. Like, if you can get Kevin Durant, you kind of have to do it. He's that good of a basketball player that no matter
how. And he fits into what they do.
Oh, he's perfect for the way they play.
It's not like Carmelo's a different conversation because he's played a certain style his whole career or whatever.
KD's unbelievable off the ball, on the ball. The cutting, his length, the way he plays is a perfect fit for the way that the Warriors have been playing. And Steve, the system that he put in place there. So to me, as hard as it is, you got to make that move.
Let's take a quick break to talk about Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. They bring the mortgage process into the 21st century. Do everything on your phone or tablet. It is fast. It's powerful. It's completely online. Rocket Mortgage takes all the complicated, time-consuming parts of applying for a mortgage out of the equation. Hate searching through old stacks of old files and paperwork? With Rocket Mortgage, share bank statements and pay stubs at the touch of a button. It could help you get approved in minutes for a custom mortgage solution that's been tailored to your unique financial situation. And you can even adjust the rate and length of your loan in real time to make sure you get the mortgage solution that's right for you. Whether you're looking to buy a home or refinance your existing mortgage, you can lift the burden of getting a home loan with Rocket Mortgage. So skip the bank. Stop waiting. Go completely online at quickenloans.com/Bill Simmons. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030. Again, quickenloans.com/Bill Simmons. Back to Luke Walton. Who was your biggest nightmare to guard at that position when you played? You played for a while, so you crossed a couple generations.
The hardest.
Because Durant would have to be up there, right?
Yeah.
LeBron would be the easiest, most obvious choice.
Well, LeBron actually wasn't the hardest because the scouting report back then was to go under the screen and let him shoot. So if he hits it, then I still did my job. So and when we played him, we used to just load up Andrew Bynum or Pau Gasol on that strong side block. So if it was an ISO, my only job was to get into him and have him drive to my teammate. So I never really got stuck on LeBron with no help. But Carmelo was a monster. He was really tough, and they would feed him time and time again.
Physical, quick release. Post up or face up.
Tracy McGrady was tough. I kept getting switched on him, but honestly, the hardest one to guard was in practice. Number 24, Kobe. I mean, there was nothing like trying to guard him. on that wing when you were ISO'd. And
well, especially once he developed that little post-up game he had too. Then it's like, what do you do?
You were
at that
literally
point?
helpless.
Yeah.
And he was such an asshole. He'd tell you about it too. Like he wasn't just scoring 30. Like he treated practices like games. Like it was no different to him. Like if you're competing on the court, he was trying to kill you. Yeah. And he was telling you about it. And that's, as a man, it's tough to hear someone tell you about how they're going to kill you and then kill you.
It's interesting that there's been a few stars over the years that have handled it that way, practice games, the whole situation.
Yeah.
And I always wonder, like, some teammates fall through the wayside. The Celtics had that in the 80s. There were some guys that just couldn't, like Brad Lohaus, they had to trade him. He couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
Did you see that happen with Kobe and a couple teammates? Like, could some people just not rise to the occasion?
No, I think it was good for us.
Yeah.
I think it was good for us because the fact he did it like that on days that we, was just tired in the NBA season and we would mentally give in, well, he would call you on it and he would talk trash to you and he would get the competitive level up to a place where all of a sudden you're going as hard as you can because that's what you do as a competitor. And so I think the way he approached practice was really good for us as a team.
So now that you're a coach, you probably appreciate it more than you did as a teammate.
Oh, I love it. I love it now. I try to manipulate the practices to get them to be that competitive. I've called even Phil a few times and been like, come on, coach, like give me something here.
Didn't he used to lie about the score to get MJ going?
I've heard
that was always the famous thing. It'd be like 12-8. He'd be like, it's 12-6. Then MJ would be like, no, it's 12-8. No, it's 12-6. Then MJ would get mad.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously I don't know that, but I know he would purposely like not give Kobe foul calls and Kobe would go nuts. I mean, he would lose it. He's cussing people out. But that's what Phil wanted to do. He wanted to bring that out of him. And, also, and for those games that he gets fouled, but the ref just blows a call, he's, to give experience for him to fight through that and play. But yeah, he's, now that I am a coach that, that type of competitive atmosphere is what I try to get our practices to look like.
I always thought that's why Shaq and Kobe ultimately were doomed to not make it forever as teammates, because Shaq was the opposite of that. He was so physically overpowering and so talented naturally and could just basically turn it on in April and put up 35-15 in the finals. Mm-hmm. Just do that year after year. And I'm sure he just didn't want to play at that intensity day after day, whereas Kobe, that's who he was.
I mean, I didn't think about it like that, but it's true. I mean, I only played 1 year with Shaq, and he was an awesome teammate. I mean, he had your back as a teammate, and he saw the value and the importance of, making sure everybody was having fun out there. If we had crowds come into a practice for an open practice, he would include them. He'd run up into the crowd and kind of bring that joy out in everybody, which is important in a long NBA season. The difference with him, and I think a lot of people though that try to, be fun and things of that nature is when it came time to play, Shaq was a killer. Yeah. He was a monster. So he could smile and have fun all over the place. But when it came time to actually play, he took joy in, hitting people into the crowd and, he'd act like he's going to block a shot, but really just lunge his huge body into some little guard. And then the guard would never come into the paint again after that.
Shaq's now become underrated. I heard I can't remember where I either read this or saw it on a message board thread or something, but people were debating like, everybody thinks basketball now is the best version of basketball. And there's some really good things about it. You're like, oh, what would you do with Shaq now? It's like, you know what Shaq would do? He would destroy everybody. Yeah. If it was the way it's played now with four smaller guys and one big guy, I don't even know what would happen. There'd be carnage. There'd be dead bodies in the court.
You wouldn't be able to play small ball against Shaq.
No.
You couldn't.
There's no way.
You could not do it because he was too physically dominant. Absolutely. The small ball works because of, these guys can guard the bigs and then it gives the advantage on defense. No, I mean, anyone that thinks that should go back and watch that 76ers finals when Mutombo.
Oh yeah, Mutombo and all
trying
those
to guard him.
Yeah,
and, you know, he was unstoppable by big, legitimate centers.
I remember in that Pistons finals, he had one awesome game. I think it was game 4. Put up like a 36-20, and you guys lost. I remember like Phil said something after, like, man, we just wasted one of the great Shaq efforts, because he did that against Ben Wallace and Rasheed Wallace, you know, which was about as good as it's gonna get with that. Yeah, I feel like, you know, even like I watch a lot of Celtic games. Obviously, that's my team. They go small a lot. They have 3 guards.
You see, they won last night.
It was a huge win last night.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Regular.
I mean,
season,
Darren Williams there were some guys out there that aren't going to be there in the playoffs, but it was a big win.
That was a great game.
Yeah, it was a great game.
Just a basketball game. That was players making plays on both sides. Totally. It was really entertaining.
All kinds of guys making shots.
Yeah, taking charges. That was beautiful.
There's a couple times when they're, you know, like Greg Monroe, who's hit or miss for the Bucks. Yeah. Kills the Celtics because in small ball, and he's physical, and he's a lefty, and he gets the ball in a spot, and he just wreaks havoc. So I can't even imagine what would happen with Shaq. What's been the most frustrating thing about, I mean, other than the fact that you guys aren't succeeding, that you know, you're losing most of the time compared to last year, you're winning all the time. What's been the most frustrating thing for you this season?
Well, first, I don't, and I know success is different for everyone. I think we are succeeding, honestly, with where we're trying to get to. Well, how young
you guys are,
Yeah, and I tell our guys, like, the winning and losing, like, it sucks to lose. Nobody wants to lose. But the important thing for us is how we're building habits right now, like the direction we're trying to go to. And
so what are those habits? Like what?
The way we practice.
Yeah.
Honestly, the way that we play, as far as, are we playing unselfish? Are we making the extra pass? Defensively, are we talking? Are we are we challenging, you know, teams defensively? And a lot of the time throughout the season, that goes up and down. And you know, obviously being around the NBA for a while, you know, being consistent in the NBA is not easy because of how many games you play. It's just not. And,
well, especially when you got young guys.
And you have young guys, and not just one or two young. Like, we're playing a lot of young guys. But I think that the way that it's going right now, we're actually having success in those terms, which is what's most important to me right now. Because even if we made the playoffs, and went on a 15-game win streak, got the 8 seed.
Yeah, you're still in trouble.
We're playing the Warriors in the first round. So to me, more importantly right now is we're building winning habits in the way that we practice, and the way that our young guys are in the gym at, you know, every morning before practice, getting specific work in with specific coaches on what we think is most important for them, weakness of theirs to get better at. And they're doing it every day. And then from there into the weight room. And, you know, so building those type of habits at this young of an age, I think carries over, you know, when you do it day after day after day, and then year after year. Now, all of a sudden, these players that were young with this raw talent start to blossom into phenomenal, you know, NBA basketball players.
And they have the pedigree. I mean, you have 2 number 2 picks and a number 7 pick.
Yeah.
And a couple more first rounders. It's not like this is a CBA team.
Yeah. So they're, you know,
what is Brandon Ingram? What does he become? What is he 8 years from now? I think he's one of the most interesting guys. I don't know what he is.
Yeah. There's no way to know yet, because the only way to answer that is to know what kind of shooter he becomes. Because his floor is going to be really good. Like, even if he never turns into a great shooter, he's going to be a really good NBA player.
Because he gives a shit.
Because he cares. Yeah. He's long. He has a great feel. You know, he's starting already. He weighs 180 pounds, and he's already starting to finish with dunks in the lane as he beats people. So his floor is already going to be high.
So his destiny is, if he starts consistently making threes to stretch the floor.
Exactly. So if he can he's going to put on weight. He's going to get strong enough. He's going to be able to finish in the lane. He's going to be able to hit his free throws. All those things, I'm 100% confident about. Depending on how high his ceiling gets, is going to be all, in my opinion, determined by how well of a shooter he becomes. And he's in here working. Yeah. He works on it. So I would like to believe, that he'll become a pretty consistent shooter. But even within being a consistent shooter, there's that range of, is he going to be knocking down threes like like Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant are now, you know, like where if they're open, that thing's going in.
Yeah.
And if he does that.
Well, Kawhi learned how to do that. Durant was probably doing it with
Durant came into the league as a
That was the rap on Kawhi.
He couldn't shoot.
Can't shoot.
And now he's 40+% in any time.
Yeah.
That he's open, he knocks that thing down. So
who's he guarding on the other end ultimately? Let's say he puts on 40 pounds. He's stretch 4?
No. He's a 3. He's
you think he's a 3?
Yeah. I mean, he'll definitely be able to, we would like to play him as a stretch 4 in that scenario.
Yeah.
Because we want to play that style.
Right.
But he's a 3. He's a point forward. I mean, we ran him at point guard for a lot of this year already.
So a little Giannis potential maybe.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, but it's all up and down because it's gonna, you know, you got to be able to, right now, every ball screen teams just go under on him and they close out short. And if they get to the point that they have to fight over that screen and they have to run him off his 3, with his feel for the game and his skill level and physical attributes, he's going to be a monster to deal with. But again, it comes down to can he knock the shot down.
When it came out that he couldn't be or that they nixed him being in the Boogie trade or weren't interested, my reaction was, that's crazy. They should have gotten Boogie. And I hadn't watched him in a while. And I watched one of your games recently. I was like, yeah, there's a ceiling with him that I think is, there's also nobody in the league like him. I think it's really hard to figure out what somebody's going to be when you don't even have the role model for it.
Yeah. Well, to me, like in that, obviously I'm a huge Boogie fan. I know people say he's crazy, whatever. I would love to coach. Like he's like, I like crazy. Probably.
Yeah, you coach Draymond.
I grew up in a chaotic household with my dad and my crazy brothers. But I like crazy. And yeah, Draymond Green, he's one of my favorite players.
Yeah.
And when I was interim head coach, he probably cussed me out 3 times and I enjoyed it. It was, that's fun to me. Like I want that type of energy out there.
Plus you played with Kobe, as we discussed before.
Kobe, yeah.
Probably yelled at once or twice by him.
Yeah. Someone asked me the other day, how's it like working with Magic? Has he got, is he this? And I said, it's great. Magic's incredible.
Magic's amazing. I spent a whole year with Magic.
And he's nice. I said, shit, I've played with Kobe. Yeah. Kobe used to cuss me out every day. So like I can, that's no big deal. And Magic's, he's got a way about him that's just, it's fun to be around. He's
Magic Johnson. That always helps. He's one of the 5 most famous, greatest players of all time. He's always on time.
Yeah.
If you have a meeting or anywhere in the room, he's there first. Mm-hmm. He's just sitting in the chair waiting. Yeah. When it was interesting hearing people wonder, like, Magic Johnson's going to run. It's like, first of all, he's going to have somebody else, and then it turns out to be Rob Pelinka. Yeah. It's not like Magic's going to be in Istanbul scouting, second round picks. Yeah. But where you want him is, having him in practice every day, and some 20-year-old kid who grew up watching him on YouTube, and then all of a sudden there's Magic telling him, hey, did you ever think about on your little skyhook doing your feet like this?
And a perfect example of that was in Oklahoma City. He came with us on the trip, and and he's been great as far as like, Luke, you're coaching team. Like, look, we'll never tell you what to do. Obviously when we talk, if I see something, I'll run it off you and we can talk about it, whatever. And if the players want to talk to me, I'll be here for them. So he's been great as far as that, has been concerned. So we're in Oklahoma City and he comes up after practice and we're just, shooting the shit about how it went and, what, this young guy did and that young guy. And he's like, he starts talking about Brandon and he's talking about how he's made, 3 or 4 great swing through moves where he got into the paint, but then whether it's, his size or whatnot, he tries to fade away from the contact and makes it a lot harder shot than it needs to be. So, Magic's like, tell him, when he gets in there, just that little jump, one-handed hook shot right there would be so good with his length. I said, shit, you're Magic Johnson.
Yeah, go tell him.
That sounds a lot better coming from you than it does for me. And then Magic went down there and worked with him on it. And it was, it's obviously, like you said, he's one of the top 5 of all time, really. And when he's giving advice to players, I think it's very beneficial.
He's incredibly famous. He's incredibly charismatic. And the thing that struck me, like when we were on the road that year we did the TV show together, the current players, even the stars, like they turn them into silly putty. Like we were there for Game 7 when the Miami beat the Spurs. And LeBron came up to the studio to hang out with us. And LeBron, that's about as open as he's going to be in one of those interviews because Magic was right there, you know, and that's, I think when you talk about Magic and Bird, and I'm sure Shaq is like this for some of these guys too, maybe not JaVale McGee, but for most of them. But yeah, I think when these guys that they grew up watching, they carry so much weight. So having him around every day. And also like when you know, at some point you're going to have to recruit free agents. I think.
Well, and he's created a $700 million business.
He's a good businessman.
So like, he's not just a basketball guy that's going to be a face and, hey, it's great to have Magic around. He also knows what it's like to run a successful business. Right. So he's got a business background, and obviously what he's best known for is the basketball side of it. So there's a good combination of the two.
It did feel like the Lakers had lost their luster, and there was, behind the scenes dysfunction and stuff like Durant not even coming here to get a meeting and things like that. And I think that's the part I think people are missing with the Magic thing. It's like people are going to come for any meeting that he's going to be in. He's a face of a franchise. He's got charisma. He's got, he's going to change the energy.
Well,
And I'm sure you feel it already.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely feel it. He's got a presence about him for sure. And it'd be nice to be able to get those free agents to sit down with us so we can show them what we're about, where we're headed, what the game plan is, and, that type of thing, as far as being a part of bringing one of the best, the best organization.
Oh, come on. You guys count the Minneapolis titles. That's the part I don't get. There's 11 here and 5 in Minneapolis, and somehow it adds up to 16 for all the Laker fans. I don't get that.
Why not count them?
I had Boston won 17 in Boston. The young players, when the trade deadline comes, and then everybody just throws people in trades, could you feel, because you didn't have to worry about that last year in Golden State, could you feel like that was affecting anybody or not?
Yeah, it's and I remember as a player, it was the same thing. It's an uncomfortable time.
Especially now on Twitter, social media, you can just find that info right away.
Yeah, and a lot of it's fake, the bad thing about, there's a lot of good thing about social media, but the bad thing is no one has to do any fact checks anymore. So anyone that wants to wants followers can just blog whatever they want about, hey, they're going to trade this guy for that guy just to get people to look at their story. So, I'm sure all these guys have alerts on their phones that are just popping up all the time about trades. But where we're at, we know the most important thing for our future right now is our young core, and we like our young core.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, someone like Cousins' name comes available. You're willing to, talk about it because he's that good. But for the most part, we had no plans on moving any of our young pieces unless something came along that was, too good to pass up.
What's been the biggest surprise for you being a head coach? What was the thing you didn't expect? Well, from the last stop to this stop? Coaching a young, inexperienced team versus the team you just had.
I'll say before even answering that, the time I spent as interim head coach there was the greatest experience I could have had, because even up there with the success we had, I was so overwhelmed with stuff I had no idea that Steve had to do as a head coach. It was just media requests your days were just, and then you get home from practice as an assistant. I got home from practice. If it wasn't my scout the next game, I was hanging with the family. I was done for the day. You get home from that long day and it's interviews and it's, whatever else. And you got to, find time to get, a workout in for your own mental stability. And then you get home and it's like, you got to put together a practice plan for tomorrow now. And we got to already think about what's happening tomorrow. Who we playing? Okay, we got this game. I got to watch film on them. So there's just, as the head coach, it never stops. Like there's always something to be done. So gaining that experience was huge.
Yeah, it's almost like you went to grad school for it.
No, yeah.
Like your PhD for 9 months.
Yeah, it was awesome. Seriously awesome. They had to have that experience going in. And then, obviously this is a completely different, different role as far as where we're at and what's important to us from coaching.
Is it weird to think about the fact that your fans at this point probably don't want you to win because of that draft pick? mean, they're probably we're hitting this end of the season where it's like I hope they lose.
That Charlotte game.
You felt like the fans running
nights, they were going nuts.
That's good.
They were into it. Our players were into it. So yeah, it doesn't feel like that in Staples Center. The people that are showing up are still.
I hate to say it, but the Lakers have good fans.
Yeah,
I was always impressed. Especially like they have any team that has just decades and decades and decades of fans. Like they go back to 1960 out here. You can feel it. He's got fans of all generations. People have been there since 1968.
Yeah.
I hate saying this, but
no, it's true.
I gotta say
it's true. And the fan base and this team has struggled for the last few years.
Yeah.
The fan base is still here. I mean, you can't all over town. There's Laker fans everywhere.
Well, the Lakers just do not have a history of being down for long.
No.
It's just over and over again. It's maybe 3-4 years max, and then Kareem Abdul-Jabbar shows up, or Shaq shows up.
It's a lot tougher now.
It is, because teams are smarter.
Well, into the CBA, the way it's set up now, you can't just go pluck some superstar like they've done in the past, because now you can sign the home team has such an advantage to pay more money and more years to all these all-star caliber players that you got to be willing to turn down an extra 40, 60, 80 million dollars to go play somewhere else, which is not an easy thing to do.
That's a tough one too. It's such a weird conundrum to be like, I have more money here, but I'm probably not winning, or I could go there and I have a much better chance of winning.
Yeah.
Putting a price on what that is. Quick break to talk about our friends at Simply Safe. You ever find out that when you're out of the house, maybe relaxing with your family and friends, you get that nagging feeling? Did I close the door? Did I lock that window? You just don't know. It can drive you nuts. Well, you don't have to worry about that when you have Simply Safe Home Security. It's a nice extra layer of protection to know Simply Safe is there, because thanks to its arsenal of sensors intended to protect your entire home and keep your family safe, Simply Safe offers an extra layer of protection that will put your mind at ease. Just recently, Simply Safe even released a brand new high-definition security camera. Oh yeah, that connects your security system to your smartphone. That way you can see everything that's going on in your home no matter where you are. No more wondering. And best of all, Simply Safe got rid of everything that makes most home security such a pain. No long-term contracts, no hidden fees. They will not gouge you, and it's just $15 a month. That's 3 times less than what other companies charge. Go check out the new camera today. You'll get an exclusive 10% discount when you go to simplysafe.com/ringer. That's simplysafe.com/ringer. Back to Luke Walton. What's the best thing you learned from Phil Jackson?
I think, honestly, with Phil, I was always a really emotional player. Like, if I played bad or we lost, like I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, and I was no fun to be around. It affected how I was the next day. And it's, I got in here with Phil, and it was just, his whole thing was like, look, you got to be right in the middle of the road. You can't there's moments you're going to be really high and moments you're really low, but have perspective on this, and you're at your best when you're clear-minded and you're in control of everything. So I think the bigger picture of the game of basketball and in the game of life, because it wasn't just the perspective of where we want to be on the court and how we're at our best on the court.
Yeah.
It's basketball at the end of the day. It's the most important thing to us. But win or lose, you do what you do, and then
and don't dwell on what just happened.
Yeah,
if it
you gotta go home and enjoy your family, and then come to work ready to work again tomorrow. But not dwelling on what happened yesterday. Like, let's stay present, let's stay in the moment, and let's get better. And before I got here, I never really had that vision. It was like, play as hard as you can. If you lose, you don't deserve to have dinner after the game type of attitude for whatever reason. And he really opened up my eyes as far as a bigger picture was concerned. And even to that point, within the game, how one bad pass to the ankle will start the ripple effect of an entire ugly possession of basketball.
Right.
And then that one ugly possession turns into a mini run for the other team. And like, just that type of game within the game, how everything was connected and stuff like that was was new to me when I got here.
So how long does it take to convince a group of young players to embrace that mindset?
It's like different for everyone. It still took me a couple of years.
Yeah.
To really understand and accept what Phil was teaching as far as that was concerned.
What about the ball movement stuff? Because like D'Angelo's, who I'm fascinated by. I think he's really fun to watch. But as one of those old school Nick Van Exel has the ball in his hands all the time type, and that's not how you want to play.
Yeah, well, again, so it's tough to answer how long it takes because there's some games that he does a great job of it.
Yeah.
So and then there's just like anything, everything with growth. It never is just a straight line, perfect. Oh, you do it every day in practice. They get better every game a little bit, and then you're there. There's always, speed bumps, and so there's games that we're moving the ball, and I'm like, this is awesome. We're getting it, we understand it, and then the very next game we come out and we play with no pace and no unselfishness. It's like one guy trying to do it and then the next guy trying to do it. So I don't know the answer yet because we're not there yet. They bought in, which is awesome, and they're trying. They're trying to play this certain style in a certain way. But because obviously it's not natural for a lot of them. A lot of these young guys grow up in AAU and the best kid shoots every time they get the ball, and if you win or lose, there's another game an hour later. So it's
shrug it off.
Yeah, it's whatever. And then
I worry about that. I also think we're heading toward a place with the NBA where there's going to be like 90 point guards, and I think a lot of it has to do. I have no idea if this is true, but in AAU, the point guard has the ball all the time. They're playing 8 games in a day, and that guy just has the ball every second.
Yeah.
And now you're seeing the league, and it just seems like it's getting easier and easier to find these random Yogi Ferrell types because there's so many of them that have the ball all the time.
Yeah, and I'm not a big fan of AAU basketball. Honestly, I think
I would have guessed that.
I think it ruins what we so many. You learn so much fundamentals in high school, and then it gets more.
Did you play other sports too when you were?
Up until high school. I played every sport up until high school. Once I got to high school, I was
to specialize.
I didn't have to, but I loved basketball. There was no other. I didn't want to spend time doing other sports anymore. I just wanted.
And you had a chance to play in college. And
but I played, which is another bad thing in my opinion about AAU is they play year round now. So to me, you should be playing soccer. You should be playing basketball when it's basketball season, baseball when it's baseball season. And
that's not the climate now. The climate is stick to one sport the whole time.
This is crazy.
Private instructors.
These guys are young. Like you gotta develop the passion for the game, in my opinion. And then and AAU takes away from the high school coaches. And to me, a lot of it is, look, just come play for our AAU team. And we're going to get you the ball all the time, and we're going to win tournaments because you got sneakers, whatever. You're also playing with all the other best kids in this region. So we're going to blow everybody out. And it's like, it just takes away from the fundamentals of the game. And, it's like when I grew up playing basketball, if it was the off season, me and my buddies would go to the park and play, or the rec. We know what rec center each day of the week had the good games at it. So then you're playing in these games, and if you lose, there's you're 4 games out before you get back on. So you do everything you can to win games.
Well, and also who you're picking when you're there. So you don't want to be the guy that's going to shoot the whole time.
This interaction that's going on as far as who how this works, and now it's like. You go to AAU tournament, you fly in, there's reporters there that are writing about you. So you're 9 years old and you're reading on social media how good you are at the game of basketball. So
you have a YouTube mix.
Yeah, exactly. So I think.
Are you a lifelong coach?
I want to.
You see doing this till you're like I don't know, who's an old coach now? Who's the oldest NBA coach? I guess Pop's got to be up there. But do you see doing it to your 60s?
I would like to. I love it. I we've won 19 games this year, and I literally there's a lot of nights I go to bed frustrated because I still don't handle losing great. But every morning I get in my car and start driving into the office, I get excited. This is a phenomenal job. It's a lot of fun. Thinking about ways to get better, and then watching players starting to slowly get better is really cool.
That's awesome.
And it's, I would like to be, in this profession for a long time.
Last question. Explain how Richard Jefferson is still a rotation guy on a really good team to me.
You want to know the truth?
Just fucking explain this to me. It's amazing.
You want to know the truth? He moved to the South Bay here in Hermosa Beach. So he was on his way out.
Because I should mention he's one of your buddies.
He's one of my.
He was out. He wasn't on his way out. He was out. He was thrown in with a first-round pick to get him off a team. So he was done.
His lifestyle changed when he moved to Hermosa Beach.
Okay,
and this is how. So, his body was breaking down a little bit, and he moved here, bought a house. Started playing beach volleyball with us every day in the summertime.
Okay.
So he's in the sand. He's jumping 1,000 times a day, just hitting balls.
Oh, wow. So his legs are getting...
So then without even knowing it, everything's getting stronger again. And we play in the summertime, we play every day.
Yeah.
So he's getting that workout in. So then, in the South Bay, everyone does yoga too. This is all the California things that we get a bad rep for, but they're actually good for you.
Hey, man.
So he starts doing yoga so much and he falls in love with yoga. He opens his own yoga studio out here.
What?
So now for the past 4 years, every off season, he plays beach volleyball and does yoga 5 days a week.
And that's how he's dunking on guys at age 37?
To me, he doesn't say this, but to me, it's the only explanation. Because now all of a sudden, yes, he's dunking on people again at the age of 36 right now. But and he's playing great. He makes winning plays.
He's effective. Yeah, he's out there.
He's a huge part of why they beat us in the finals last year.
Yes.
When Kevin Love got hurt, they put him in, and his defensive intensity and switching onto our guards was a pretty big factor in the way that series played out.
That must have left you conflicted.
No, there's no confliction.
He's your buddy, though.
I was miserable.
You're mad at him? You didn't talk to him?
It's his favorite line now.
What?
Like, we'll be playing whatever we're doing now. It doesn't matter. The score will be 1-0 in anything. It's not over. I've been down much worse than this. That's his go-to line now, and it drives me crazy. He's a poor winner.
Oh, that's terrible.
And he had a lot of second places in his life up to that point. Bronze medal in the Olympics, NCAA finals, we lost together. Nets twice, I think.
When did you lose in the tournament? I can't remember.
0-1. Duke beat us.
And that was in the finals, though, or the semis?
No, the championship. We lost.
Was that the Trajan Langdon?
No. They had, so both teams were.
God, all these, I'm so old now. All the March Madness is blending together. I can't even remember.
The only reason it doesn't to me is
because you were in the game. Yeah, I would imagine.
Carlos Boozer, Jay Will.
Oh, yeah.
Dunleavy.
That was a good Duke team, though.
Dunleavy, Chris Duhon.
Yeah.
Shane Battier, Nate James.
That was one of the last loaded college teams.
In the whole Final Four, they were down 20 to Maryland in the semis when Maryland had Dixon and Steve Blake and Baxter and the kid who jumped really high, played in the league for a while. I can't think of his name. And then we played Michigan State, who had Zach Randolph and Richardson and those guys. So like the whole Final Four was loaded.
That's a good one. Who was on your team? You had you and Jefferson?
No. So Jason Gardner, point guard, Gilbert Arenas, 2 guard, Richard Jefferson, 3, Michael Wright was the 4, Lauren Woods was the 5. And then I was coming off the bench on that team with like Eugene Eggerson and Justin Wessel and guys like that.
So you were there for early Gilbert.
Early Gilbert was really good at the game of basketball.
Gilbert is the most underrated guy from this century.
It was unbelievable.
He has a 1.5 year long stretch where he's basically, if you just covered up his name and asked whose numbers these were, you'd be like, I don't know, is that Westbrook? Incredible. Who is that?
And we weren't even recruiting him until late.
Yeah.
Like it was us, Cal State, Northridge, and like Kansas State or something at the time.
Yeah.
So we jumped on late and he signed with us, came in, stole it with Ruben Douglas, who was my freshman class, was our starting shooting guard. Ended up leading the country in scoring at New Mexico after he transferred. And within the first 2 months of the preseason, Ruben was so, like Gilbert had taken the spot.
Wow.
That Ruben just got up and transferred before the season started so he wouldn't miss an extra year. And Gilbert was just this kid none of us had ever heard of that was cocky.
I was going to ask, was he a little loopy back then? I'm guessing, yes.
God. Everything was a practical
He missed out
joke.
his calling on Twitter, but he was still one of the early internet basketball heroes.
Yeah,
he was one of the first one to blog, all that stuff.
Everything was a practical joke to him. Like on the road trips, he'd put pennies in everyone's hotel key doors so you couldn't get your key in there. But he was damn good at the game of basketball.
He's really, really great. So Richard Jefferson, need the Celtics take care of him for a little revenge. I'll tell the Celtics in the Eastern Finals if the Celtics and Cavs meet.
He's still my best friend, so I'm still I'm pulling for him. I do want him to win. I do want him to win. Just at the time, I had no love for, like, I wasn't like, well, if the Cavs win, it's okay and they got Channing Frye on their team, like that's fine. I really did not want them to win, but when I saw him afterwards, and you see the joy that comes from that much hard work.
I would argue he was one of the happiest.
Yeah, you can't help but just feel happy for
Could you coach him? Could he come back for one last year down the road? Or would that be too weird?
That'd be tough.
Assistant coach, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, something.
I would think it would be fun to coach him. You just yell at him.
Yeah, but
maybe that would be your revenge for the finals.
There's also relationships where, like, he might forget that I'm his head coach and take it back to, like, the fact that we've known each other for 20 years, and then it gets awkward.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Luke Walton, this was fun. Good luck with the rest of the year. I think, I don't know, you got some good players. It's going to take some time, but I think the foundation is definitely sitting there. Yeah,
well, patience is going to be big, but we knew that coming into this, so it's they're a great young group of players to coach, and it's a lot of fun coaching them.
All right,
and eventually we'll start winning.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, that's it. Thanks again to Simply Safe for sponsoring today's show. Don't forget, they released a brand new high-definition security camera that connects your security system to your smartphone. That and the whole Simply Safe program are just $15 a month. 3 times less than what other companies charge. Go check out the new camera today. You'll get an exclusive 10% discount when you go to simplysafe.com/ringer. And also, thanks again to Stamps.com for sponsoring today's episode. Man, I've been telling you this forever. Stop going to the post office. Buy and print official U.S. postage for any letter, any package, any class of mail using your own computer and printer. I don't even have to recommend this anymore because I've been doing it for 10 years. It's part of my life. Go to Stamps.com right now, and you can enjoy a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus postage and a digital scale without any long-term commitments. Go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, type in my code BS. Stamps.com, enter BS. And thanks again to the Ringer Podcast Network. Don't forget, we launched the Masked Man Show, new wrestling podcast with David Shoemaker. That's actually the one that used to be on Channel 33, but we liked it so much we gave it its own podcast feed. Check it out. Go there right now. Subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget about Food Week on The Ringer. All week. Great videos, great podcasts, great pieces, great features, columns. And I even did a podcast for Channel 33 where me and Joe House broke down the top 50 fast food items. Go check that out on Channel 33. Enjoy the weekend. Back on Monday with a brand new podcast. Take care.